Assalamualaikum and good morning.
Assalamualaikum.
So for today, we are going to continue with lecture on topic number 8. Yeah. So give me 1 second. So this is our 5th meeting kalau tak salah. So our 5th meeting. So we have 2 meetings to go. So here we have topic number 8, short-term financing. So if you want to relate this topic with the previous ones. So for topic 5, 6 and 7, if you recall, it's about managing working capital ataupun managing our current assets. Okay, how to ensure that they have sufficient cash, for example. Okay, but sometimes companies might have problems related to their cash flows. Okay, so meaning they have problems with their current assets. So one of the solutions, okay, to counter the issue is by having this short-term financing. So meaning they can borrow money, okay, short-term basis. So short-term here usually refers to for the period of less than 1 year. Okay, less than 1 year. So minimum, maximum would be 12 months lah. Okay, so here we're going to discuss the types of short-term financings available, and the most important part of that is to calculate the costs. Okay, because at the end of this session, okay, for topic number 8, usually what we do, they have multiple options, multiple alternatives available. So we need to compare and we need to choose which is considered the best. Okay, so to compare, we need to know how to calculate the cost, okay, for each types of financing available. Right. So here, some definition. Short-term funds are funds that a firm has to repay within a year, as I said already. And usually companies will use the short term to match when they have problems related to their current assets. Okay, their current assets. Okay, and sometimes these happen because of seasonal issues, temporary fluctuations in terms of demands for funds, for example. So these short-term funds is always used when the companies has some problems with short-term ataupun with their current assets, and they use just for temporary basis, okay, not for long-term lah. Okay, so why companies like to use the short-term debts? Obviously, they have some pros and cons, obviously, but usually why they use these short-term debts because of its flexibility. Flexibility, meaning we can use this. They can apply for short-term basis, and to get it approved also not that long in terms of their waiting period. Okay, the cost can be lower as compared to long-term. As compared to long-term rates, it can be lower. However, in terms of the riskiness, the short-term can be risky as compared to the long-term basis. Okay. Anyway, let's look at the sources. So the sources can be split into 2 categories, spontaneous versus non-spontaneous. Okay, spontaneous versus non-spontaneous. So again, these terms have been discussed before. Okay, the word spontaneous dengan non-spontaneous ni kita dah discuss. If you remember where we did the topic of pro forma financial statements, especially when we talk about pro forma balance sheets. Okay, when we try to adjust, according to the percent of the sales method, where we increase the values on the assets memang kita increase, but on the right hand side, the liability side, there are some items kita increase, but there are some kita remainkan constant, right? So the ones that we increase is part of this spontaneous, the internal financing, meaning we can increase internally. Okay, how? You remember I said, for example, if we have payables, okay, taxes ke wages ke, how to increase ataupun how to increase these values simply by not paying. Bila kita tak bayar, kita can increase these values. Okay, so why we tak bayar? Because the fund that we have, instead of we pay these expenses, we need to use the money for something else. So meaning we delay the payments. Okay, so the money too comes from internal lah. So the funding comes from our own money. So the money that we supposed to pay, kita delay the payment and we use that money instead. Right, that's number one. Second is from external. This is the non-spontaneous lah. Okay, the non-spontaneous is the external sources. So for the external, we have two types, the unsecured dengan secured. So the difference between the two, okay, for secured, for example, this is loans ataupun financing with collateral. Okay, with collateral. So what does it mean? With cagaran. So meaning company who wants to borrow money ataupun the party who wants to borrow money needs to pledge security assets as part of the financing agreement. Okay, so with collateral. So for unsecured, this is without collateral. Okay, without collateral. So for unsecured, right? So as a borrower, you don't have to pledge anything. So from a lender point of view, from the bank, for example, this is unsecured financing, meaning there's no securities involved as part of the loan agreements. Okay, so there's a lot of sources kalau kita tengok kat sini lah. Okay, but for us, we just, in terms of calculation, we just focus on 4 different products, I can say. Okay, first is based on spontaneous, which is trade credit. So we just focus on trade credit later on in terms of calculations. And there are 3 more under external. Okay, for spontaneous, only 1, trade credit. But for non-spontaneous, kita akan discuss 3 other sources. Okay, which is bank loans. Okay, specifically under unsecured bank loans ataupun term loans lah kat sini, term, short term specifically, revolving credit. Okay, and also commercial paper. Okay, so all 3 are part of unsecured financing. Okay, so we don't discuss any secured financing as part of our options, right? So these are the 4 types of financing that we're going to discuss in detail. Obviously, we're going to go through others as well as just briefly. Okay, tapi yang in details, these 4, trade credits, short-term bank loans, revolving credit, and also commercial paper. Okay, but first you need to understand to differentiate between internal and external and the categories kat sini lah, right? For internal ataupun spontaneous, as I said, the money ataupun the financing comes from the internal parts, the normal operation of the business. So how to get this done? Basically by delaying the payments. Okay, delaying the payments. For example, okay, you borrow ataupun you buy certain products. Okay, you buy your goods from your supplier, contohnya worth 10,000 ringgit. Okay, you buy your materials from your supplier worth 10,000 ringgit. And remember, when we talk about trade credit, okay, when we talk about trade credit, it's always some credit terms attached to it. For example, 315 net 30, for example. Okay, so if you buy your goods, okay, worth 10,000 ringgit and your supplier give you these credit terms, what does it mean again? This is a 3% discount if you pay within 15 days, or else you have to pay in full within 30 days. So by having these credit terms, we have the option, instead of we pay earlier in order to get discount, we can delay our payment for 30 days. So meaning, let's say if I buy the goods today, okay, and the worth of the goods is 10,000 ringgit. Okay, suppose I have 10,000 ringgit in my account. I boleh je bayar sekarang in order to get the 3% discount. But instead of doing so, I use this 10,000 ringgit for other things. Okay, I use this 10,000 ringgit because I have other projects, for example. So I need 10,000 ringgit for that project. So where I can get the source of fund of that 10,000 ringgit, instead of I pinjam dengan bank, for example, I use my own money, 10,000 ringgit. Where I get this fund? By delaying the payment. So 10,000 ringgit yang sepatutnya I pay for my credit ni, I delay the payments. Instead, I use this 10,000 ringgit for the other projects. That's the internal financing lah. So meaning we use our own money, okay, by delaying the payments, okay. And by doing so, even though it's our own money, okay, we are actually foregoing the discount. So meaning kita lepaskan peluang untuk dapatkan diskaun ni, right? And because of that transaction, we miss the opportunity to get discounts. Okay, there's a cost to it. Okay, there's a cost to it. So we can calculate the cost if we forego this discount. Okay, so how to calculate this move by miss the opportunity to get the discount? Kita panggil dia cost of not utilizing the cash discount. Okay, cost of not, okay, the rate of discounts, divide by 100 minus the discount rates. Okay, multiply with 360, okay, as in days, divide by the credit period minus the discount period. So again, if I use this credit term, 315 net 30, give me 1 second, cara orang nak masuk tadi. So I recap. I bought 10,000 ringgit from my supplier, and my supplier gave me this credit term. Okay, and I've decided not to get the discount. Instead, I use the 10,000 for something else. And that move cost me money. Cost dia apa? Cost of not utilizing the cash discounts. So in these credit terms, as you can see, we have 3 information. Okay, 3 information. The first one, the 3 here refers to percent. This is our discount. 3% discount. Okay, this part lah discount percentage. And then we have 2 number of days, 15 and 30. So what's the difference? So 15 here refers to discount period. Okay, so this is the maximum number of days for you to qualify for discount. So you have to pay within 15 days in order to get this 3% discount. For this entitlement, you kena bayar dalam masa 15 hari. Okay, but again, the discount period is optional. If you want the discount, you pay early, or else you just wait until the end of it, the end of the credit. When? After the 30 days. Okay, this is our credit period. So the maximum number of days given to you is 30 days. Okay, so anything more than this is considered late payment already lah. Okay, kita tak nak cerita after that lah, sebab kita akan assume we're going to pay within the time frame, but until 30th maximum. So therefore, if we want to calculate what will be our cost if we utilize our own money, in this case, it would be 3% discount, the formula, 3% discount, divide by 100 minus 3%. Okay, multiply with 360, divide by credit period, which is in this case 30 days, minus discount period. Discount period is 15 days. Minus lah. Okay, so what would it be? 7 times 360 divided by 15. So here the rate outrageously at 74.22%. Okay, so what does it mean here? If you forego your opportunity to get the cash discount and instead you use your own money, okay, it will cost you 74% per annum, and this is annualized already. This is based on per annum basis. Okay, so it's equivalent to 74%. So what does it mean? This is expensive. Okay, 74%. Right. So that's how we calculate the internal financing. Okay, based on foregoing the discounts. So another example kat sini Argos, which operates a small chain of video stores. Ada lagi ke video stores sekarang ni? But anyway, they purchase 1,000 ringgit worth. Yeah, ada RM lah 1,000 ringgit worth of merchandise on the February 28th from a supplier, and this supplier give the credit terms of 210 net 30. Okay, so maybe we can add on the story. This company needs the 1,000 ringgit for other types of purchases, for example. Okay, so therefore, there are two options whether to use their own 1,000 ringgit instead of paying early. Okay, they delay the payment, or they use other sources that charge them 7%. Okay, there are two sources. So to make comparison, we need to calculate the AOC tadi lah. The AOC. So it's 2% discount divided by 100 minus 2% times 360 divided by 30 minus 10. Okay, so here as you can see, the rate is 36.7%. Okay, so the annualized rate is 36.7%. And again, if you compare with other sources of 7%, okay, obviously it's wise for them to borrow money instead of doing ataupun instead of using its own money, 1,000 ringgit, the company needs to borrow money actually. Borrow money from other sources. We just charge them with 7%. And the 1,000 ringgit that they have, they should take the discount instead. Okay, they should take the discount and get the discount. So the 1,000 ringgit requirement for something else too. So it's wiser for them to borrow from somewhere else. Okay, so that's the conclusion for this internal financing. Okay, internal financing ataupun the spontaneous comes from delaying the payment. Okay, so meaning the money tu comes from their own account, their own money. Okay, so itu masuk dia internal financing. Right, so that's number one from trade credit. So remember, this is based on trade credit, internal financing, one of the option. So now we move on to the non-spontaneous. Okay, specifically for the unsecured. Ada juga secured at the end of the topics, tapi in terms of calculation, we're going to focus on the unsecured without the collateral. Okay, so for unsecured, as I said, without any collateral, we have a lot actually. We have 5 kat sini example. Okay, we may have many more, tapi as per calculations, we just focus on short-term bank loans in the form of notes payable, the revolving credits, and also the commercial paper in terms of calculation. Tapi in terms of the notes, all 5 ada kat dalam ni for unsecured. For secured bank loans, okay, as I said, this is with security. Okay, they need to provide with security or collateral. Okay. So for secured short term ni selalunya relates dengan they can use account receivable, okay, as collateral, okay, receivable, ataupun they can use their inventory, for example, as part of collateral. So digunakanlah this account receivable dengan inventory yang dia ada as part of their collateral. So if they cannot repay, the bank will recover using these two, inventory ataupun account receivable. Okay, so let's look at the unsecured. We have 5 tadi example. In terms of the details, kita akan focus only on 3, tapi we have some brief description for all 5. So we're going to go through the brief description first. Okay, the first one is notes payable. So this will be our first option, notes payable. So notes payable is a short-term bank loan basically. So you get a loan usually from banks. Okay, and the payment will be one lump sum payment one single payment. Okay, so you borrow 10,000, the bank might give you 10,000 ringgit. They disburse 10,000 ringgit one time. Okay, so this type of loan made when a borrower needs additional funds. Okay, and this is part of unsecured, as I said. and together with the loans, okay, they will specify when will be the maturity date and what will be the interest charges. Okay, but in terms of notes payable, later on you're going to see that there are some terms and conditions that applies together with the notes payable that may alter our interest charges. Okay, later I can explain what these terms and conditions can alter the interest charges. Okay. Second option is line of credit. Okay, line of credit is actually dalam bahasa, you know, the other terms that you use is credit line lah. The opposite ataupun alternative way of saying line of credit is credit line. So one of the example, the easiest example I can explain to you the credit line is just like a credit card. Okay, credit card is one example, a line of credit given by a bank to the customer. Okay, ni example. Okay, tapi in our case it's not credit card lah. Okay, for businesses, the ones yang kita akan guna sebenarnya yang ni, revolving credit. But anyway, this is an amount given by the bank. Again, the source come from the bank. Dia akan bagi still consider under unsecured short-term loans. Okay, and instead of giving one lump sum amount for line of credit, dia akan bagi you contohnya one year period, and this amount you can utilize up to 1 year. Okay, up to 1 year. So meaning if you're given 10,000 ringgit line of credit, for example, you can use, for example, this month 1,000. Okay, next month another 1,000. Okay, so throughout the year, you boleh utilisekan at one point 10,000 ringgit. Okay, at one point 10,000 ringgit. Okay, so that's line of credit. And one of the example of line of credit is revolving credit. So this is the second one yang kita akan go through later in terms of calculation under unsecured external financing. Okay, this is where the bank still under the bank guarantees a specified amount of funds available. Okay, but for this time around, it can be longer. It can be 1, 2, or 3 years. But in our case, we're just going to focus the ones with short-term financing, 1 year. Okay, one of the features of revolving credit, which is different from bank loans earlier, okay, is in the form of the commitment fee. Remember, for revolving credit, you can utilize bit by bit. So meaning if you're given 10,000 ringgit, not necessarily you use 10,000 ringgit upfront ataupun at the first place, or at the first go, right? You can utilize bit by bit. Okay, 1,000, 2,000, and then the following month and so on. Tapi mesti dalam tempoh 1 year. Okay, so there are two parts of your credit line. There'll be used portion, amount yang you guna, and unused portion. For used portion, you're gonna be charged with interest, normal interest. Okay, but for the unused portion, you're gonna be charged with commitment fee. So for example tadi you pinjam ataupun you'll be given revolving credit line of 10k. So this is your facility 10k. So you use 9k kat sini, katakanlah you use 9k, and the unused you tak guna 1k lah, sebab out of 10k you use 9k only, and 1k will be unused. So what happened, the 9,000 ringgit that you borrowed, that you use, you have to pay interest. But for the 1k that you unused, you have to pay commitment fees. So meaning both ways you have to pay charges. It's either interest or commitment fees. Okay, so this is revolving credit, whereby for notes payable tadi, we don't have this. We don't have this unused. Okay, you've given 10k, you have to pay interest 10k. Straightforward. But here, based on amount that you used. Okay, but the unused portion is not going to be free lah, you still have to pay some unused. Okay, that's revolving credit, right? Again, I just briefly discuss dia punya features in terms of the calculation. Okay, we're going to revisit balik. Starts with notes payable, then revolving credit next. But here, the fourth options available from the bank is, again, from the bank, is overdraft. And this facility usually associated with current account holders. Okay, so this facility available only for current account holders. Savings selalunya tak ada overdraft lah, not for savings account, only for current account holders. And this overdraft is a facility to cover short-term financial constraint ataupun to cover short-term shortages. So for example, again, I use 10K lah. Let's say customer ada 10K in the account. Okay, and this customer, since they ada current account, maybe they ada check facility. Okay, so they issue check, and the check, they issued worth 11,000. So sepatutnya dalam account ada 10K, but they issue check worth 11,000 for payment to the supplier, katakan. So the supplier dapat 11K check, go to the bank in, and bank will approve it. Okay, tapi dengan syarat dia ada OD facility ni. Katakanlah dia dah ada OD facility, so bank akan approve ataupun bank akan release the payment. So meaning the 10K akan ambil daripada account lah. But the 1K short, okay, the shortage 1K ni, they will charge as part of the overdraft facility. Okay, so the 1K ni bank akan release tapi akan be charged dekat customer lah. Okay, and the customer needs to pay immediately because the interest is calculated based on daily basis. And if you don't pay within 1 month, okay, you have to pay the penalty. Okay, so that's overdraft facility. Okay, but again, overdraft ni bukan automatic, you have to apply for it, and bank will check your eligibility based on your financial risk lah, based on your credit risk. And also your risk assessment lah, basically sama macam loan yang lain. And lastly, the fifth one example here is commercial paper. So unlike the other types of facilities available, so this is going to be our third option under non-secured ataupun unsecured external financing. This is the only options whereby we don't borrow money directly with the bank. Okay, so this is a form of financing, consists of short-term unsecured promissory notes issued by big companies, large corporations with a high credit standing, very good credit profile, with very well-known companies, good reputation. But instead of we go borrow money from the bank, we issue commercial paper. So instead of borrow and lending kat sini, so commercial paper is more on buyer and seller relationship. So the seller would be the companies. They are the one who sell the commercial papers, and the buyer would be the investor. Okay, so investor akan jadi buyer of the commercial paper. So the money not coming from the bank, the money comes from investor. Okay, however, how to communicate between the buyer and seller? You're gonna have a middleman. Okay, the agent ataupun the broker kat tengah-tengah ni. And who are the broker? Usually the bank juga. Okay, so the bank still play a role, tapi role dia bukan sebagai pemberi pinjaman, they are more on broker je lah, as a middleman. And as a seller of commercial paper, you have to pay the broker some fees. Okay, kita discuss lah, kita calculate je lagi. But you need to understand the concept lah. Okay, we have the seller, which is the large corporations selling the commercial papers, and they will sell via a broker, usually an investment bank contohnya. And the banker akan help the seller to issue the commercial paper and sell to the buyer. So buyer akan beli, and the money comes ataupun sell via the broker, and the broker akan give the money to the seller lah later. Okay, and again, this is a short-term basis. But the question can give any numbers kat sini. In real life, maybe the maturities range from these dates lah, 30 to 270 days, and usually in the multiples of 100,000 ringgit or more. Okay, and as I said, this is only types of financing whereby the money not from the bank but from the external parties, the investors. Okay, so therefore it can be multiple investors kan. Kalau macam dengan bank, kita tahu kita pinjam dengan bank one person ataupun one entity. Tapi here, the money comes from multiple investors. Okay, so the total combined will be the amount that the seller can get lah. So kalau dia nak, let's say 100,000, dia kena sell a certain values of, kalau ni dia jual multiple 100,000, meaning dia jual satu commercial paper lah. Tapi kalau dia nak 400,000, so meaning dia kena jual 4 papers, contohnya, in order to get 400,000. Okay, but anyway, kita akan revisit balik commercial paper later when we calculate. So now I want you to focus and revisit balik to our very first product, which is notes payable, okay, which is bank loans. So for bank loans, okay, we have two different rates here. We have the nominal rates and also the effective rates. So what's the difference between the two, nominal and effective? So nominal are the rates yang unadjusted, and this is the one stated on the offer letter. Okay, so you nak pinjam dengan bank, the bank state, okay, you can get the 100,000 ringgit worth of loan with 4% interest rate, for example. So that 4% is nominal rates. Okay, nominal rates. Okay, but for comparison purposes, we cannot use nominal rates. Okay, we cannot compare bank A dengan bank B based on nominal rates. Okay, so the best way, okay, nominal cannot the best way is to calculate the effective rate. Okay, so the effective rate is the actual cost. Okay, why we call them actual? Because there are some terms and conditions stated by the bank, and that can cause the rate to increase. Okay, so when there's terms and conditions applied in the bank loans, the rate of interest tend to increase. Dia akan increase. Okay, and that new interest rate is called the effective interest rate, ataupun in short kita panggil dia EIR, effective interest rates. And this is the one that we need to calculate for all alternatives before we make comparisons. Okay, so what are the terms and conditions? So these are the two examples that we're going to use, okay, as part of our lesson lah. Kita ada discounted loan. Okay, ni dia punya terms These are the terms and conditions lah. The discounted loan dengan compensating balances. So what does it mean by discounted loan? So bila nampak perkataan discount ni, dia bukanlah bank bagi discount. This is a type of loan whereby the loan needs to be paid in advance. Okay, ataupun paid at the beginning of the loan period. So pay in advance ataupun upfront lah. Okay, you need to pay upfront. Ataupun sometimes they use the word prepaid. So meaning, again, if you borrow 10,000 ringgit katakan, okay, with the interest of 10% katakan for 1 year. Okay, 10,000 ringgit, 10% of it would be 1,000 kan. So this interest 1,000, you need to pay upfront. So meaning, from this 10,000 ringgit, the bank will take 1,000 ringgit immediately. So instead of 10K that you can use, okay, you can use only 9,000 ringgit if this is the case lah, discounted interest. Okay, so meaning the usable fund, okay, the usable fund is only 9,000 ringgit. And because of that usable fund reduced from 10K to 9K, it will affect your effective interest rate. Okay, later I show you with the example. Okay, but here you can see how to get this 1,000 ringgit. I think by now you should know, but I'm not sure you know. Kita pernah discuss juga rasanya. To calculate interest, formula of interest is interest principal. Principal is amount borrowed, multiply with the rates of interest. Okay, multiply with time ataupun tenure ataupun term. Ataupun in short is P times R times T. Okay, so this is the formula of interest that you need to know. Okay, in order to get this 1,000, it's 10,000 ringgit principal, multiply with 10% interest rate, multiply with time. In this case, it's 1 year, so times 1, then we get 1,000 ringgit. Okay, and remember this time must be in year. Dia time ni represent tahun. Okay, so kalau 6, kalau letak 6 kat sini, it means 6 years. But what happen kalau dia less than 1 year? 6 months, for example. So kalau T tu less than 1 year, kalau 6 months, for example, so you kena divide by 12. Okay, whatever amount ataupun whatever months less than 1 year, you have to divide by 12. So kalau dia 6 bulan, you letak sini 6 sahaja, it represents 6 years salah. Okay, so in order to get 6 months, so you kena letak 6 over 12. Okay, over 1 year ataupun over 12 months lah. Okay, so be careful kat situ for the time kat sini. Okay, so that's discounted interest. I recap, discounted interest is the amount of interest based on our calculation kat sini. Let's say kita calculate interest, we get 1,000. And this 1,000 needs to be paid upfront. So meaning if we borrow 10K, 1K interest needs to be paid immediately. So bank akan tolak siap-siap 1,000 ringgit. So therefore, they just give you 9K je. Okay, so sebab the interest tu dia dah bayar ataupun dia dah ambil siap-siap. So you as a borrower, you left with 9K to use. Okay, so the concept of usable fund applicable kat sini lah, usable fund. So usable fund dia dalam case ni is 9,000 ringgit because the 1K been taken by the bank. Okay, so that's discounted interest ataupun discounted loan. Second terms and condition is CB, compensating balances. Okay, in short, kita letak di CB CB. Compensating balance is the amount of deposits whereby the bank will ask the customer to keep in their accounts. Okay, what kind of accounts? Low interest ataupun non-interest bearing accounts. So kalau low interest ni selalunya savings lah, savings account dia punya interest rate adalah rendah, low interest, or it can be current accounts. Okay, current accounts selalunya associated dengan non-interest bearing, especially in the conventional banks lah. And the reason why the bank asks the company to keep in their account just to compensate for the loans and services charges. Okay, so meaning the bank akan specify, okay, you need to keep certain amount of your borrowings in the bank account. You need to keep it until you fully paid your loans. So again, kalau lah CB requirement katakanlah 10% juga, CB at 10%. So if the company borrow ataupun if the borrower borrow 10,000 ringgit, if there's CB requirement of 10%, so 10% of 10,000 is 1,000 ringgit. So meaning the 1,000 ringgit needs to be kept in the bank. Dia akan simpan dalam bank for 1 year. Katakanlah dia pinjam for 1 year. So 1 year, 1,000 ringgit cannot withdraw. Kena keep dalam bank tu. So again, the usable fund, the concept of usable fund, okay, the 10,000 that they borrow, 1,000 needs to be kept in the bank as CB requirement. So therefore, the usable fund for the second option here, it's still 9,000 ringgit. Okay, 9,000 ringgit. So the usable fund is less than the amount they borrow actually. And because of that, their effective rate akan berubah. And there's a scenario whereby the banks may apply both terms and conditions. Okay, meaning bank kata, okay, I give you 10,000 ringgit, but this is a discounted loan with 10% compensating balance. So dua terms ada, meaning they have to pay interest upfront and they have to keep 1,000 ringgit in the bank account. So what does it mean? The usable fund, okay, will be even lower. Okay, borrow 10,000, so 1,000 kena pay discount interest, tinggal 9,000, and 1,000 additional 1,000 needs to be kept in the bank as part of CB requirements. So therefore, the usable fund become 8,000 ringgit only. Okay, and because of that, your effective rate will be even higher. Okay, when they have both. Okay, when they have both terms, your effective interest rate will become even higher. Okay, so to illustrate, let's look at some example kat sini. So here we have the interest. Kita tengok interest base dulu. We have two option. Ini kita pasal discount interest. So therefore, you need to differentiate. Kita ada based on discount basis, and this is based on normal one. So meaning the interest will be paid at the end. Okay, kalau collect for collect basis, it is based on normal interest, whereby we will pay at the end. Okay, not at the beginning. So meaning kita akan bayar according with our payment later lah. Okay, tapi kalau based on discounts, we have to pay upfront. So we want to see what will be the difference. Okay, the terms and condition of the loan is the same, cuma cara pengiraan interest berbeza. Not cara pengiraan lah, cara the payment of interest will be different. Okay, so this is the scenario. Okay, but before that, the formula for EIR that we're going to use. Okay, I'm going to use this instead lah, EIR. Sama je formula dia sebenarnya between the discount dengan collect ni. Tapi we're going to use this concept. The proceed here, if you remember tadi, the concept of usable fund. Okay, the usable fund is also known as the proceeds. Okay, and based on EIR, the formula would be interest. Okay, I tulis kat sini juga lah alternatively it's actually interest divided by proceeds. Okay, times 12 over T. Okay, so interest is based on the formula of interest I showed you earlier. Divide by proceeds. Okay, proceed here refers to the usable fund, amount yang boleh guna. So if we have to pay interest upfront based on discount interest, so you have to tolak lah interest. Okay, example tadi I bagi, we borrow 10k and we have to pay discount interest 1,000. So we minus 1,000, so we left with 9k, 9,000. So that 9,000 is our proceeds. Okay, multiply by 12, divide by T. T here refers to maturity in months. Okay, so this is, some might get it confused. Okay, kalau tadi, bear with me the formula of interest, T, kita ambil, kalau 6 bulan is 6 over 12. Okay, so T dia 6 bulan, tapi kita tak boleh letak 6 sebab kalau 6 is 6 years. So our T is 6 over 12. Okay, ataupun 6 over 12 is 0.5, which represents setengah tahun, 0.5. Okay, but here, the formula itself, formula itself is 12 divided by T. So kalau ni 6 bulan, you're going to put here 12 over 6. Okay, 12 over 6. So nanti akan ada yang tanya, apa ni 12 bagi 6? Ini 6 bagi 12. Okay, so there are two different things here. Ni T untuk interest, mesti over 12 sebab dia less than 1 year. Tapi here the T memang dekat bawah. Formula dia memang 12 divided by T. Okay, so that's why the T here jangan letak 6 over 12 pula. T here refers to maturity in months saja. So tak mungkin dia dalam tahun. T kat sini tak mungkin dalam tahun. T yang kat sini possible ada tahun. Kalau 2 tahun dia letak 2. Okay, but here the T must be in months. Sebab our short term tak mungkin lebih daripada setahun. Okay, so this is the formula that we're going to use to calculate the effective rates. Okay, so tak kira lah dia discount ke, dia collect ke, we can use this formula. As long as you know the concept of interest and the proceeds. Okay, remember the proceeds represent the usable fund. So meaning kalau dia collect basis, there's no deduction lah. Okay, there will be no deduction of proceeds. Sebab interest tak perlu dibayar upfront, kita akan tolak kemudian. So the amount that you pinjam, you akan dapat full amount. Okay, so this is an example. Mr. Lee is going to borrow 3,000 ringgit. So this is our principal. We borrow 3,000 ringgit for 1 year. So this is our T, 1 year, which is 12 months lah. Okay. And the rate is 12% interest. So this is our R rates. So the question asks, what is the effective rate if the loan is based on collect and discount basis? Okay, so to answer ataupun how to find the EIR, this is the EIR requirement, the EIR. Okay, I will always start with the calculation of interest. Kita kena cari interest dulu. Okay, so to cari interest, remember the formula. E times R times T. Okay, the principal in this case is 3,000 ringgit. The rate is, I dah label tadi R, 12%. For how long? For 1 year. Okay, you nak letak 12/12 pun boleh, tapi basically 12/12 is 1 year lah. Kan? So 3,000 times 12% is 360 ringgit. So this is the amount of interest. Right. Since we have two questions, so first we're going to calculate based on collect basis. Based on collect. Remember, based on collect meaning the interest is not payable upfront. We're going to pay this later. So at the beginning, when we receive the fund, our EIR would be the interest 360 divided by the proceed. Okay, kita nak cari proceed So since this collect basis, we're gonna receive 3,000 ni in full. Kita akan dapat 3,000 ni full without any deduction. So is interest divided by proceeds times 12 over 12. Sebab dia 12 bulan. Okay. So you see here your interest, effective interest would be 12% as well. Okay, here what does it mean? There's no changes. This is nominal by the way. Kalau ingat tadi kita ada dua rate nominal dengan effective rate. So the nominal rate of 12% will be the same as our effective rate. Okay, if it's based on collect basis. Okay, meaning the interest not to be paid upfront. Tetapi when you have this discount interest, okay, ataupun discounted loan ni, it will affect our effective rates. Right? So with the same information, we have the same thing here. Our interest akan sama. Cuma perbezaannya is in terms of the payment of interest. Now, as you can see, the interest of 360 ni needs to be paid upfront. So meaning this 3,000 ringgit, you have to minus 360. Okay, it will be part of your, you have to deduct the usable fund. Okay, amount 3,000 ni, you're going to tolak 360 upfront. Times 12 over 12. So what happened? 360 divided by 3,000 minus 360. So here it will increase to 13.63%. Okay, 13.63%. Notice that the rates have increased from 12 to 13.6%. Okay, by having this discount basis punya terms, you are not actually paying 12%. Okay, you bukan bayar 12%. You are actually paying 13.6%. Okay, so this is the power of effective rates. So bila you have this effective rate, then you can compare with other sources. Okay, then you can compare. Okay, don't compare with the nominal rate 12% ni, because there are some terms and conditions that can cause your interest rate to become higher. Macam ni lah. This is just one baru satu based on interest, based on discount. Okay, discount basis. Right. Next. Ni ada jawapan ni kat belakang ni the 12 and 13.6%. Next, kita tengok CB requirement. Okay, tadi yang tulis CB. As I said, this CB is actually amount of deposit that you need to keep in the bank throughout your borrowings. So kalau you kena you pinjam 1 year, for 1 year you need to keep this CB requirement. You cannot withdraw. Just like imagine kalau you nak ada savings account katakan, bank letak situ ada RM10 minimum balance. Okay, so RM10 tu you tak boleh keluar. Something like that, something like this jugalah as CB requirement. Okay, so they calculate as a percentage of the borrower's borrower's amount, berapa banyak yang dipinjam. And to differentiate CB ni kita tak perlu multiply dengan you don't have to multiply dengan time. Okay, we just multiply with the percentage of CB. Okay. Cuma when we talk about compensating balance, remember this is amount of money that we need to keep in the deposit accounts. So meaning, again, if we borrow 10,000 ringgit and the bank kata ada CB 10%. Okay, 10% of CB, 10% of 10,000 is equivalent to 1,000 ringgit. Okay, so meaning this 1,000 ringgit needs to be kept in the bank throughout the loan period. But let's say you are already a customer to that bank. Okay, you dah ada bank account pun dalam bank tu. And currently in account, you have 500 ringgit katakan. You dah ada 500 ringgit dalam account tu. Currently. Okay, you already have this 500 ringgit. So what's the implication kalau this case if you already have in the account 500 ringgit? So your CB still sepatutnya you can tolak 1,000. Okay, for your usable fund, for your proceeds. But since you already have 500 ringgit, you don't have to deduct all full 1,000. Instead, you just need to top up with 500 more. So meaning instead of 1,000, that will need to be deducted from your proceeds, you just need to deduct 500 ringgit. Okay, so again, that concept kita akan gunakan kejap lagi lah when we see some example. Okay, so beware of this kalau dia dah ada dalam account currently. So the formula is still the same. Okay, still the same, interest divided by proceeds times 12 divided by T. Okay, cuma the proceeds you need to minus the CB. Okay, the CB requirements. Now, let's look at this example. Suppose you borrow 20,000 ringgit. Okay, so this is your principal, 20,000 ringgit, 14% per annum. Okay, so this is your rate. Okay, and the amount, the interest you pay at maturity. So meaning this is not discount interest. This is just a normal collect basis. And then the CB requirement is 10%. So this is your CB. What will be the effective cost? So what will be the EIR for this? Okay, because it asks you to find the EIR. As always, I will start with interest. The principal is 20,000 ringgit. The rate is 14%. For how long? For 1 year. Okay, dia tak explicitly say, tapi kita assume dia setahun lah. Okay. So 20,000 times 14%. So 2,800 ringgit is the interest. We have CB, compensating balance requirement. How much? 10% of it. So they borrow 20,000. 10% is the CB requirement. So 2,000 ringgit is the CB requirement. Okay, so remember this is normal interest, meaning they bayar dekat maturity. So meaning this is not discount interest. Therefore, your proceed. Okay, we just minus the CB requirement here. So they borrow 20,000 and you have to keep 2,000 ringgit in the bank account. So you're left with 18,000. So your usable fund is 18,000 ringgit. This is amount of proceeds. So once you have this, you can calculate your EIR, effective interest rate. So the interest is 2,800 ringgit. Okay, the proceeds is 18,000. 12 months, divided by 12 months. So it's about 15.56%. Okay, notice again, the nominal is 14%, but our effective after we have the CB requirement increased to 15.56%. Okay, so what's our conclusion? If we have discount interest, our effective rates will increase. If we have CB requirements, our interest rate will increase as well. Okay, so both terms cause the interest rate to become higher. Okay, and the higher rates here is actually the effective cost. Okay, dalam kalau you apply any loans, dia akan mention sebenarnya what would be the EIR ataupun sometimes they use the word APR. Okay, that is the effective rate, the actual rate you are paying, not the nominal one. Nominal based on this 40%, tapi based on the terms and condition, this is the amount that you have to pay actually. Then imagine if you have both. Both maksudnya you have discount interest and you have CB requirements. Okay. Cara kerja dia. Okay. Imagine like this. Okay. You borrow money. This is prepaid, maknanya discount interest, and dia ada CB requirement 10% juga. Okay, so for this question, they have both. Okay, untuk short-term financing, especially for bank loans here, the question will always give either one ataupun both. Tak mungkin tak ada. Kalau tak ada, macam contoh yang pertama tadi. Kalau tak ada apa-apa, meaning untuk first example ni collect basis tadi, there's no discount interest, there's no CB. Yeah, as you can see, the rate is the same. So tak mungkin soalan akan bagi based on collect basis without CB requirement. So the question will always give either discount basis alone, CB requirement alone, or possibly both. Macam soalan ni. Have both. Okay, both. Ada discounts, interest, and CB requirement. Okay, untuk soalan ni. Okay, tapi minimum the question will give either one at least. Mesti ada salah satu. It's either discount alone, CB alone, or dalam case ni both lah. So how to solve these questions? Again, always start with interest. Interest is 25,000 principal. The rate is 15%. And again, we assume 1 year je lah. Okay, soalan akan beritahu selalunya 6 months ke 9 months ke 1 year ke. 5,000 times 15%. So 3,750. So this is the interest amount. And remember, this is prepaid interest, so meaning this amount kita kena tolak dalam proceeds. And we have CB requirements. CB dia still 10% juga. 25,000, 10% is 2,500 ringgit. So what's the implication if we have both? It will be in our proceeds. Okay, proceeds akan impact lah sebab kita borrow 25,000. We have to pay interest upfront because this is a prepaid interest. So 3,750 kita kena tolak. And we're going to minus the CB requirement juga because it's part of the terms, 2005. So 25,000 minus 3,750 minus 2,500. So 18,750. Okay, so this is the amount of proceeds. Okay, walaupun borrow 25,000, this person can only utilize 18,750. But the rest, they kena keep dalam CB and also to pay the interest upfront. So what will be the effective interest rates? It will be interest of 3,750. Okay, formula dia jangan lupa interest divided by proceed times 12 over T. So the proceeds is 18,750 times 12 over 12. So 3,750 divided by 18,750 equivalent to 20%. Okay, so imagine from 15% nominal, okay, by having these two terms, the rate of interest that you have to pay actually is 20%. Okay, based on the CB and also interest paid upfront. All right, that's our first. Okay, sama macam ni lah. That's our first example based on short-term bank loans ataupun notes payable. Okay, let's take 5 kejap. Okay, before we try some question ni tadi contoh dalam buku Nanti kejap lagi kita try satu soalan past year. Okay, but before that, let's take a very quick break, 5 minutes macam tu, before we try one question. Okay, let's take 5. Okay, as I said, let's try some question. Okay, let's tengok. Let me share dulu. All know we have two groups, group A, group B. So you guys group A kan. So group B I buat kelas pagi tadi. I use December 2018. Okay, so you can check the answers dalam the other groups punya video. So check lah dalam YouTube tu untuk group satu lagi. And for you guys, I'm going to use January 2018. Question related to short-term loans lah ataupun short-term financing. So here we have Jan 2018, question 3B juga. Okay. As you can see here, the company specify requires 450,000. So this is the principal. Dia akan borrow 450,000 for 9 months. So this is the time. So they have 3 borrowing alternatives. So they suruh cari the effective interest rate for each one. So we have 3 options here, but we have discussed only one so far, which is bank loan. Macam nak tahu bank loan, dia ada cerita pasal discounted interest ni, discounted loan with a CB of 10%. Okay, so meaning discounted interest, so kita ada CB 10%, and the interest, the R, the rate is 8%. Okay, so we have all information lah. That the principal 450 times the 9 months, rate 8% with the CB requirement and also discounted interest. So for this bank, we need to comply for both terms. They are the discount interest, they have CB requirement. So what would be the implication? Okay. So this is from January 2018 question. Question 3B. So first, alternative one is Raji Bank. Okay. So to answer, as always, starts with interest. The principal is 450,000. For Raji Bank, the rate is 8%. 8%. For how long? For 9 months. Okay. This question asks us to use 9 months, 9 over 12. So 450,000 times 8% times 9 over 12. So 27,000. Okay, 27,000 is the interest. Okay, we also have CB requirements. So 450,000 times the CB is 10%. So times 10%, 45,000. 45,000 is the CB requirements. So next would be the proceeds. So they borrow 450,000. Okay, to check whether to minus interest or not, just look for the discounted terms. Discount. They use the word discounted ataupun they mention about the payment of interest upfront at the beginning, prepaid. Okay, all of those terms refers to discount interest. So minus 27,000. And don't forget minus 45,000 for the CB requirement. So berapa ni? 450 minus 27 minus 45,000. So the proceeds that left would be 378,000. Okay, so this is the usable fund. So this company, Denny Harris Corp, can use 378,000 if they borrow from Raji Bank. Okay, so what would be the effective interest rate? The interest is 27,000. Divide with the proceed, 378,000 times 12. Okay, 12 ni memang fix, memang permanent 12. Tapi the T for this question is 9 months. 9 months, so that's why we put 9. Okay, dalam notes tadi, I use 12 because we assume it's 1 year. It's 12 months. But here, it's 9 months, so therefore we put 9. 7 divided by 378 times 12 divided by 9. So it's 9.52%. 9.52%. Okay, so from the nominal of 8%, our effective rate is 9.52%. Okay, so that's our first option. 3 marks untuk ni semua 3 marks. Based on Raja E-Bank. Okay, based on these terms, 9.52%. Okay, ada soalan ke so far? Okay, so that's our first option under the external financing, under external financing. So next let's move on to the second option. Okay, the RCA, the revolving credit agreement. Okay, as I said, the important part of the revolving credit agreement is the parts of commitment fees. Okay, whereby the unused portion will be charged with commitment fees. So amount yang you guna, you have to pay interest. Amount yang unused, you have to pay commitment fees. Right? So we have some slight variation to the formula of EIR. Okay, just a slight variation. What kind of variation? We have this element of commitment fees. Okay, so therefore we need to change a bit our formula, whereby the interest we have to add with the commitment fees. This is a combined charges that we have to pay, and we divide with the usable fund. And as you recall, usable fund is your proceeds juga lah sebenarnya. Okay, so these proceeds based on amount you borrow minus the CB requirements, kalau ada. Okay, if any, sama macam tadi lah. If any CB requirement, then you minus if any lah. Okay, times 12 over T. So the rest are the same. Okay, the only part different ni je. We have commitment fees. Okay, so let's look at this example. So Binarian Corporation has a revolving agreement with a bank, so they can borrow up to 2 million ringgit. Okay, so this is the facility amount. They give you 2 million ringgit with 12% interest. So this is our rates are. But it is required to maintain 10% CB. Okay, still ada CB 10%. In addition, you have to pay 0.5% commitment fees. So this is your commitment fees, CF, on the unused portion, on the unused sahaja. So what would be the effective interest rate if the firm utilizes 800,000? So meaning this is the usable amount. This is the usable amount, 800,000. So what would be the unused portion? Okay, so they have the facility of 2 million. So this 2 million is the facility. Okay, 2 million. So meaning 800,000 is the used amount. Okay. So what would be the unused amount? So the difference lah. So the 1.2 million would be the unused. The unused portion would be 1.2 million. So 800,000 will be used to calculate the principal ataupun to calculate the interest. Okay, whereby the principal is 800,000. For 1.2 million, this will be your unused portion for commitment fees. Okay, so meaning for interest, you're going to use principal of 800,000 with the rate of interest of 12%. For how long? For 1 year, entire year. So 96,000. Okay, interest would be 96,000. So the commitment fees would be the unused lah, 1.2 million times 0.5%. 6,000 again. Okay, 6,000 again. So this is the commitment fees. So how about the proceeds? What tak kat bawah ni. So proceeds dia. Don't take the 2 million because this 2 million kita tak guna semua. We just use 800 kan. So our usable fund is 800,000. And we have to minus the CB. And our CB is 10%. So 10% of 2 million. sorry, not 2 million, sorry, 10% of 800. 800,000 sebab dia guna 800 saja. So 10% of 800 is 80,000. So the proceed is 720,000. Okay, don't use ni 2 million ni is just total facility. Ni, total facility. Okay, so we just use CB based on borrowed fund, which is the usable fund, 800,000. So 80,000 lah. 80,000. So what would be the EIR? Okay, so the formula again, it's interest plus commitment fees divided by proceeds. Okay, so our interest is 96,000 and our commitment fee is 6,000 ringgit. Our proceed 720,000 and 12 over 12. So berapa ni? 96 plus 6,000 divided by 720,000. So we have 14.17%. Okay, that will be our effective rates for this revolving credit agreement for Binaria. Okay, 14.17%. Okay, something like this lah. We have the interest, the CB requirement 80,000, usable fund 80 minus 80,000, which is the proceeds, and the commitment fees. Okay, and this is the formula how to find the EIR, just like what I did just now. Let's go back to the example from January 2018 question 3 specifically, 3B. So out of these two left, the revolving credit is for the second option, Muamalat Bank. Double A dia letak Okay. The second option. The bank offers revolving credit agreement for 500,000 again. If you notice here, the amount they give you in terms of the facility is higher than the amount the company needs. Okay, for revolving credit, always like this, they will give you more than the amount required. Why? Reason being only one, because they want you to calculate the commitment fees. Okay, so meaning when we want to calculate the usable amount untuk revolving, we always use this principle. Okay, always. So the amount that unused will be used to calculate for the commitment fees of 5%. Okay, so this 9% is our R. So unused portion, the difference. So bila they bagi 500,000 and they need 450, so the difference 50,000 tu lah yang akan dikenakan commitment fees. Okay, and we have CB 50,000. Okay, and this is where I said the other account presently 20,000. Okay, I'll show you the implication later. So how to solve this question? As always, starts with interest. And don't use amount given in terms of facility. We're going to use the amount that they need only. Okay, so that we can compare apple to apple between all three. Okay, our principal will remain at 450 for all three options. Okay, so 450 is the amount that they're going to need, 450. And for Muamalat Bank ni, the rate of interest is 9%. Okay, 0.09. Again, for 9 over 12 lah, 9 months. 9%, 9 over 12. So 30,375. This is the amount of interest. Okay, we need to calculate the commitment fees. And remember, the amount of facility is 500,000. Amount used is 450. So we have 50,000 unused. Okay, 50,000 is unused. So how to find this 50,000? The difference between the facility and the amount that they use. Okay, so we don't use all. Walaupun dibagi 500,000 ni, we don't use all. Do not use all. Okay, because or else we cannot compare ni. Tadi kita guna 450, takkan kat sini nak guna 500,000 kan? So it's not fair to calculate. ataupun to compare. And the rate of interest, ataupun the rate of the commitment fee is 5%. So 50,000 times 5%. It's 2,500 ringgit. This is the commitment fee, 2,500 ringgit. Okay, so now the CB. For this question, the CB is given directly. It's not in percentage. They bagi you 50,000 ringgit. So technically, you need to keep 50,000 ringgit in the bank account at all times. Okay, at all times. But based on this scenario, the company already have 20,000 in the bank account. Dia dah ada 20,000. So what's the implication? So you need to minus 20,000 as part of your CB. Maknanya, from the borrowed amount 450 ni, you tak perlu tolak 50,000 solid because you already have 20,000 in the account. So therefore, you just need to deduct with 30,000. This is the amount that we will deduct it from your proceeds, not the 50,000 in total sebab dah ada 20,000. So meaning you kena top up 30,000. And this 30,000 will be deducted from our proceeds. So our proceed will look something like this. Borrow 450. Okay, and we have to minus the 30,000 only. Okay, remember, if there's no indication of this in present account ni, kita kena tolak 50k sebab 50k is the requirement. However, since we already have 20k in the account, so therefore we just need to top up 30,000 as part of our CB requirements. So we left with 420,000. Okay, we left with 420,000. So what would be our EIR for this case? The interest is 30,375. We need to add with commitment fees, 2,500 ringgit. We divide with proceeds of 420,000 times 12 over 9. Okay, divided by 420,000. And let me check. Why dia punya rate ni sekejap 50. Okay, plus 100 by okay, so it's 10.44%. Okay, 10.44%. Okay, tadi 9.52. Okay, we have 10.44%. Okay, so that's our second option in this question. So this give you 4 marks. Untuk soalan ni dia bagi 4 marks. Boleh ke? Ada soalan? Tak ada So let's move on to the last option, which is the commercial paper. All right, so commercial paper is the only option whereby we don't borrow directly with the bank. Instead, we're going to get the money, get the fund from investors, right? And for this commercial paper, it always sold on discount basis. So what the discount basis, remember, we need to pay the interest upfront. Okay, so for commercial paper, always pay the interest upfront. And why big companies prefer commercial papers instead as compared to borrow directly with the bank? Okay, ada a few options kat sini. First, the rates usually lower than the bank loans. So meaning, as a issuer of the commercial paper, you can decide what would be the best rate you want to offer to your investor. Okay, so usually you can save some interest rate kat sini lah. Okay, as compared to bank loans. But kalau bank loans, bank will decide what will be the best rate for them. Okay, but here you can decide ataupun you can propose what will be the best rates for the investors. Especially kalau you are very good bank, very good company, okay, very stable, very well known, you can give lower rates, but still investor will buy the commercial papers from you. Okay, so the issuing house, so dalam case ni selalunya bank juga the issuing house is the bank, does not require any CB. So you don't have to put CB requirement. So for commercial paper, there'll be no CB. And this is very recognized and issued by most of big credit-worthy companies. Okay, very widely used lah, I can say. So how to calculate? Okay. Again, you're gonna see macam lain je formula dia. But in fact, for me, it's the same. Okay, more or less the same lah. So for this part, face value minus interest minus issuing cost, this is technically your proceeds. Okay, but for these proceeds, if you compare, for example, with your first option, notes payable tadi, notes payable, you have the principal, and then you minus interest kalau dia discount interest, then you minus CB kalau ada, right? So both discount interest and CB, if any, kalau ada salah satu, ataupun kalau ada dua-dua. But for commercial paper, for the proceeds, is always this. Maknanya dia tak akan bertukar. Meaning face value, this is your principal, minus the interest, because for commercial paper, it's always based on discount interest. So therefore, kita kena tolak interest. But for commercial paper, we don't have CB, tapi kita kena bayar issuing cost. Okay, remember earlier I said, we have the seller dengan buyer tadi kan? Seller and then buyer here. So dekat tengah-tengah ni, we have the bank, which is the issuing house ataupun the broker. Okay, so instead of we borrow from the bank, whereby we have to keep our money in the bank, here we have to pay issuing costs. Okay, we have to pay issuing costs to the bank. As a seller of commercial paper, you akan jual commercial paper ni via a bank, selalunya investment bank, and we have to pay them some fees. Okay, we call them issuing costs. Sometimes kita panggil dia brokerage fee, BF, brokerage fee. Okay, so that's the issuing cost part lah kat sini. We have to minus that cost as well. So the whole thing here refers to proceeds. So technically the formula would be interest divided by proceeds times, dalam case ni diguna hari, you can use 12 juga, 12 months, divided by T. This is your T. Okay, so technically this formula is the same as our first formula. Cuma for for revolving credit tadi kita add with commitment fees kat sini. Okay, but for commercial paper, it's actually the same as notes payable. So let's look at this example. Okay, so the company wants to issue 30 million ringgit worth of commercial paper. So this would be our principal. Okay, 30 million. And the commercial paper will carry 270 days. So this would be our time. Maturity date 270 days. And the interest is 11% per annum. So this would be our rates R. In addition, the company needs to pay 200,000 worth of fees. So this is our issuing cost. Okay, 200,000 ringgit through the dealer, through the broker. What would be the effective cost if the company wants to issue this commercial paper? So again, we need to calculate the effective interest rate. Similarly, okay, the steps, okay, sama je. We're going to start with interest. Okay, the principal is 30 million. The rate is 11%. Okay, and how long? And this question, they specify 270 days. So it will be 270 divided by 360. So 30 million times 11% times 270 divided by 360. So it would be 2.475 million. Okay. Ataupun 2,475,000 ringgit. Okay, so that would be the interest. Okay. Next is proceed je lah. Okay, we need to calculate the proceeds because we don't have CB. We don't have commitment fees, but the issuing cost is already given 200,000. So therefore, our proceeds will consist of three things. Remember, for commercial paper, it must consist of three things. Number one is the principal, the face value, 30 million. Next is the discount interest. So we have to deduct the discount ataupun deduct the interest, 2.475 million. And minus the issuing cost. Dalam case ni, 200,000. So 30 million minus 2.475 million minus 200,000. Lagi juga ni, 30 million minus 27.325 million. Out of this 30 million initial that they want to issue, so the amount that they receive as proceeds is 27,325,000 ringgit. Okay, that will be their proceeds. Okay, so to find the EIR, it's 2.475 million divided by 27.325 million times 360. Okay, since the question used days, I use 360 instead. Divided by 270. Okay, it's quite we need to be quite flexible lah. It's either use 360 or use 12. Okay, tengok soalan. For me, I will always look for the question. So kalau soalan guna hari, I guna hari. Kalau soalan bagi tahun, bulan, I use months. Okay. So it's 2.475 million divided by 27.325 million times 360 by 270. Okay, it's about 12.08%. Okay, 12.08%. This would be our effective rates based on this commercial paper issuance from 11 nominal to 12.08% effective rates. Okay, so if we go back to our past year question tadi, right? So we've done Rajini Bank and Muamalat Bank. Now we have CWK, the third option. Okay, CWK Bank. This is our third option. Okay, so for this CWK, it offers simple interest. Okay, soalan ni tak guna commercial paper. Alamak. Rasa tadi, tak apa. Untuk commercial paper, kita guna example lain sekejap lagi. Untuk soalan ni, we don't have commercial paper, unfortunately. It's still under bank loans yang biasa. Still, we have under bank loans. Simple interest at 11% with CB 15%. Okay, so unfortunately, kita tak boleh guna soalan ni untuk commercial paper. Maybe kejap lagi I guna soalan lain lah untuk cari just for commercial paper saja. Okay, untuk soalan ni to complete because last they asked us to find the best alternative. So untuk soalan ni, we go back to our first option tadi lah, notes payable but with simple interest, meaning it's not discount interest, just simple interest with CB requirement obviously. So it will be interest 450,000. The rate of interest is 11%, 9/12. Okay, 57,000. 125. Okay. And the CB requirement is 15%. So for 50,000, 15%. ringgit. Okay, that's CB requirement. So the proceeds would be 450 minus 67,500 ringgit. $382,500. Okay. So what will be the effective interest rate? 37,125 divided by 382,500 times 12 over 9. So it's 12.94%. Okay, 12.94%. Okay. Okay, we focus on this first, commercial paper. Kejap lagi kita try a different question. So as you can see here, based on these three options, okay, from the Raji E-Bank 9.52, Muamalat 10.44, and CWK is 12.94. So here we can conclude that based on the calculation, the best financing would be, okay, so the best financing alternative is, okay, kita akan pilih whichever the lowest, meaning is Raji E-Bank. So the best financing alternative is Raji E-Bank. Okay, reason, kena specify lah, because it offers the lowest rates. Okay, so our option is based on our lowest points. Dalam case ni is the Raji E-Bank, and the justification always because of the lowest rates. Okay, because it offers the lowest rate. Okay, so this is your Jan 2018. So if you want to see December 2018, go check the other video. So the other video tu kita dah buat December 2018. So now we have tadi December 2018, now we have Jan 2018. Tapi soalan ni tak ada commercial paper. So let's try tengok June lah. This is June 2018. Okay. Right, so typically, as you can see, it's always in question 3. Tapi this is during final exam lah. So since we don't have final exam, tak kisahlah dekat soalan yang mana pun. But we have here in question 3B as well, June 2018. The company, the law incorporation requires 500,000. So this is the principal. And untuk soalan ni, if you notice, kalau you tak notice lagi by now lah, the terms, I don't know why, the terms they give us differently. Okay, we have 3 months kat sini for alternative 1, and then untuk commercial paper they use 270 days. Tapi untuk soalan 3 tiba-tiba dia tak bagi. So that's why I don't like this kind of question yang try to be clever but not so clever lah. Okay, a revolving credit dia bagi 550,000. But again, I tak tahu berapa lama. Okay, so untuk soalan semester ni kalau tak salah, this is a bonus mark. Okay, sekejap let's try tengok soalan lain lah. Okay, this is July 2017. Okay, July 2017. Okay. Untuk soalan ni pun dia use different terms as well. Tapi kalau dia guna different terms, kena specify that very specific lah. Contohnya soalan ni, alternative 1, maturity 180 days. Okay, that's the terms. Untuk alternative 2, they use 9 months. Okay, so for alternative 3, they use 12 months. So even though they use different terms, tapi they specify so that we can calculate. Okay, we have 10 minutes kat sini. Let's try to answer all lah, just for the sake of ni. Okay, this is based on July 2017. Okay, question 3B juga kalau tak salah. Okay, 3B as well. Okay, so we start with alternative 1. Okay, and the alternative 1 is the commercial paper yang kita tak dapat buat tadi. Alright. So the alternative 1, by the way, this company requires 300,000. So this is the principal with different terms for all three. So setiap satu tu kita kena guna terms yang berbeza. Okay. So for alternative 1, maturity is 180 days. So this is our term, 180 days. Face value is 50,000 per paper. Okay, this is the one that I need to show you so that you know how to do it. Sebab dalam soalan tadi, the issuing cost is given in full values. Okay, but here the issuing cost given is based on per paper basis, 1,005. Right, and the interest rate is 10%. So alternative 1, okay, always starts with interest. So the interest is based on principal 300,000. The rate for alternative 1 is 10%. For how long? 180 days. Okay, so 300,000, 10%. So 15,000 lah kat sini. Okay, 15,000 ringgit. What else? We need to know the issuing costs. Okay, sebab there's no CB, but we have issuing costs. For commercial paper, the issuing costs, for this question, they give us 1,500 ringgit for one paper. So the question is, how many papers actually this company needs to issue? So to find the number of papers, okay, so what we need to do, we need to take the principal. Okay, so this is the amount that we need to gain ataupun to raise 300,000. And for one paper, the face value is 50,000 ringgit. Okay, for one unit of paper. So 300,000 kalau you divide dengan 50,000 ringgit, this is the amount of papers that we need to raise. Okay, kalau ada 300,000 we need to raise, and one paper equivalent to 50,000. So 300 divided by 50 is 6 units kan, 6 papers. So meaning nak dapat 300,000, kita kena jual 6 papers in order to get this amount. Sebab satu paper 50,000 ringgit. So by doing this simple mathematics equation, 300,000 divided by 50, we get these 6 papers kat sini. So 300 divided by 50 is 6 papers. And if 6 papers times 1,005, that will give us the total issuing cost. So 9,000 ringgit would be our total issuing cost. Okay, I recap. The ones in the bracket is actually to find how many papers we need to issue. So use this simple equation. Total principal divided by face value per paper. Okay. And then multiply with the issuing cost per paper, which is 1,005. So we have the total value of 9,000 ringgit. So once we have this, we can calculate the proceeds. 300,000 minus interest. Remember, for commercial paper, always discounted, meaning always minus interest. And don't forget to minus the issuing cost, 9,000 ringgit. So 300,000 minus 15,000 minus 9,000 ringgit. So we have 276,000. Okay, so this would be our proceeds. So once you have this, we can calculate the effective interest rate. Interest is 15,000. The proceeds 276,000. We use days untuk soalan ni, so 380 divided by 360. 360 divided by 180. So say 15,000 divided by 276,000 times 360 divided by 180. So it's 10.87%. Okay, 10.87% as our effective rate untuk alternative one. This is alternative one. Okay, rule of thumb, our effective rate is always higher than the nominal. Mesti lagi tinggi daripada nominal. So kalau you calculate tiba-tiba dapat rendah daripada nominal, something wrong with your calculations. Okay, and it shouldn't be far away from this 10%. Tak mungkin tiba-tiba you kira dapat 70%. Tak mungkin. Okay, dia plus minus maybe 5% difference. Okay, 10 naik sampai 15 still possible. 10 tiba-tiba naik 35%. You dapat ER 35%. Again, it's not possible. Okay, so it must be within the range of plus minus 5%. Not minus plus 5%. Okay, plus 5% maximum. Next, alternative 2. I have 4 minutes. Alternative number 2. Okay, using revolving credit. Remember, for revolving credit, we have commitment fees. And for this question, they have 9 months. And they give us 500,000. Remember? Always higher than the amount that we need to. Okay, so dalam case ni ada 200,000 unused portion. Okay, the rate is 9%, R is 9%, CB 10%, and commitment fee dia 5%. So this commitment fees. So one by one, interest dulu. Interest based on 300,000 amount, and the amount of interest is 9%. For how long? For 9 months. So 9 over 12. So 20,250. Okay. We have commitment fees on the unused. So we use 300. So from this 500, we will have 200,000 unused. And this 200,000 will be charged with 5% commitment fees. So 10,000 ringgit will be the commitment fees. And we have CB. CB there, 10%. Okay, and remember 10% is based on amount borrowed. 300,000. 10%. So 30,000 ringgit. Okay, so lastly, kita calculate the proceeds. So 300,000 minus CB requirement 30,000. So 270,000 will be amount available to be used. So our effective interest rate would be interest 2250 plus commitment fees. Remember, this is revolving. So revolving, we have commitment fees 10,000 divided with proceeds 270,000 times 12 over 9 because the credit line for 9 months. So 20250 plus 10K divided by 270,000 times 12 over 9. So 14.94%. Okay, 14.94%. Okay, from 9 up to 14%. Okay. Next, last one, alternative 3. This is bank loans. This is simple interest again. If it's simple interest, meaning we don't have to deduct the interest upfront. 12%. So this is the rate, 12%. CB 20%. Okay, 20%. So again, the interest would be based on 300,000 with the rate of 12%. Okay, for 1 year, it's about 12 months. So the interest is 36,000. The CB is 20%. So 300,000, 20% would be 60,000 ringgit. Okay, so our proceeds 300,000, minus 60,000, 240,000. Okay, so the usable fund is only 240,000. Okay, so what will be our EIR? Okay, remember why I don't minus the interest? Because this is a simple interest, not discounted interest. Okay, so our interest is 36,000, proceeds 240,000, 12 over 12. Why 12? Because it's 12 months. Untuk soalan ni. 36 divided by 240, it's 15%. Okay, 15%. So quite close dengan number 2 tadi ya. 14.94%. Walaupun on paper nampak ni tadi only 9% je, 9%, and this is 12%. Okay, but because of the time and because of the terms, out of these three, obviously the best would be this one. All right, and therefore, what would be the best financing? So you can conclude the best financing alternative is alternative 1. Alternative is alternative 1, bracket commercial paper. Okay, reason sama ya, because it offers the lowest rate. Okay, because it offers the lowest rate. So to get additional 1 mark. So again, the total will be 10 marks for this question. Okay, so always go for the lowest rate. Okay, go for the lowest rate. So I think that's about it for this. Ada few things kat belakang ni, you can read on your own good. Because the earlier part's always about unsecured. So the next part here is about secured short-term loans. The difference, as I said, is about the collateral. Okay, so we have two things tadi, account receivable and inventory. So, but we don't have calculations lah. You can read on your own lah. Okay, what will be how they use the account receivable and inventory as part of their collateral. So again, if they have collateral like this, if the company cannot repay the loans, the lender will recover lah. Dia akan gunakan account receivable dengan inventory ni, dia akan repossess in order to fulfill back their loans. Okay, so with that, I think it's the end of this topic. Okay, topic number 8. Alright, sorry to take slightly longer time, 5 minutes extra ni. So ada soalan? Okay, reminder so for tonight 10 PM I set already. Your individual assignment, jangan lupa deadline by 10 PM tonight. And satu lagi, you gonna have one online quiz. I dah cakap sebelum ni, last week when I mentioned. There will be one online quiz for topic 5, 6 and 7 juga. But this time around, multiple choice. Okay, multiple choice, theory questions. Okay, I will post the question dalam dalam New Future, but in quiz punya section, instead of assignment tu dia ada satu online quiz kalau tak salah. So you're gonna see one online quiz. Cuma I will give you a long time, maknanya maybe I bagi you 1 week untuk jawab. Tapi bukan maksudnya you ada masa seminggu untuk jawab semua soalan, no. The period of to attempt the question is 1 week, tetapi once you try to attempt, dia akan set timer lah. I think about 10 to 15 minutes untuk jawab soalan tu. Okay, so make sure bila you nak jawab tu, make sure you are ready, maknanya you are free, tak ada kerja lain masa tu. You can do anytime you want. You can be masa malam ke, during weekend ke, cuma masa weekend, as you all know lah, sistem your future ni kadang-kadang dia bila terlalu ramai user at one time, dia boleh jam during the weekend. So I suggest you don't do it during the weekend lah, buat waktu habis kerja ke, malam ke. Okay, and it will be multiple choice question from topic 5, 6 and 7. So maknanya sebelum you try nak jawab tu, bacalah sikit notes from topic 5, 6 and 7, and you have about I think about 10 to 15 minutes untuk jawab soalan tu. Ada 10 soalan kalau tak salah. So kalau 10 soalan maybe 15 minutes macam tu, tapi kalau 20 questions maybe dia lama sikit lah, tak ingat berapa soalan. Okay, I will let you know later. Okay, but just beware of that assessment lah. Okay, akan ada satu online quiz dalam your future. Okay, so thank you very much. And inshallah I'll see you guys in 2 weeks time for our next meeting untuk next topic juga. Right, thank you very much again, and Assalamualaikum.
Thank you, Doctor.
Okay.
Wassalam. Thank you, Doctor.
Right.
Thank you, Doctor.
Okay, welcome.
Thank you, Doctor.
Okay, welcome.
Thank you, Doctor.
Right.
Thank you, Doctor. See you.